9 o'clock, so we'll start our Environment and Communities meeting. I'm going to start this morning with a little inspirational quote from Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. That was Margaret Mead. So with that in mind, we're going to get going with our agenda, and we're going to start with apologies. I have apologies from Councillor Tupara and Councillor Tibble.
And Councillor Ria.
And Councillor Ria. And we have Councillor Huriwai online, and welcome also to all of the other people that are watching our meeting online this morning.
I'll move the apologies.
Thank you. And a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Borich. All in favour?
Aye.
And against. So next we have declarations of interest.
Declaration, I have an interest in the CBD with our first paper.
Sure, thank you.
And other than looking at fun on it, but it's a fixed policy, right?
Sure, thank you. So we'll go into confirmation of our non-confidential minutes, and as everyone's had a chance to have a look at those before now. Are there any issues or someone would like to move? Jeremy?
Yeah, just the first question of clarification. There's a bit there that's wrong, where it, so it was all about the scale of investment and that being really important. And it said too little may lead to decline the opportunity. That's right if it was below 10 million. But the point where they would only move forward with one provider maybe was in the tens of millions. Not if it was they're really after 100 or more hundreds of millions, and that's when there'd be multiple providers. But in the tens of millions, they would potentially move forward with only one provider.
That's for the public deputation from Judy and Waletia.
Yeah.
Can we get that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, we'll have a mover for the minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship, and seconded by Councillor Muir. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Moved. Okay, so then we've got our governance work plan, which most of that is in today's agenda, and leaves of absence, none of those, and acknowledgements and tributes.
Yes, but you need to wait a little bit. Thank you. I do want to do acknowledgement and tribute, but we'll just wait until the person comes.
Okay.
Can I do a little one in the meantime?
Sure.
I would like to acknowledge Cole Ritchie. He was a deer and goat culler that did a lot of work across this region, and he passed away in a helicopter accident at the age of 25 this month. So I'd just like to acknowledge his work and contribution to biodiversity in this region, and acknowledge that this work's really important, and he passed away at work. So I just want to thank him for his work.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. I am ready. Okay. So, councillors, today is a very, very special day, and the very, very special person just walked in, Mr. Phil Karaitiana. So I am going to read a few little bullet points about Phil. Everyone here and everyone in this region knows what a huge impact Phil has had, not only on this council, but on this region. So I'm going to read a few bullet points to you so that you, for those of you that might not know Phil, so the reason why we're talking about Phil today, Phil is retiring after 56 years. So Phil, we wish you all the very, very best. From us here, the GDC whānau, we just want to let you know that you will be missed. Your friendly face, your massive knowledge, and just the passion you have done your mahi year with us. But I do want to read a few bullet points so that you just know who we are dealing with here today. Mr. Phil Karaitiana. Phil began his career in January 1970 with the East Coast Pest Destruction Board, chasing rabbits on horseback around Wairua and Gisborne. Through various amalgamations and iterations, Phil, you must have seen it all, of local government being counties and then in 1989 becoming the Gisborne District Council, Phil has shown an unwavering commitment to biosecurity and to our region. He is one of, if not the longest serving local government employee in the country. We definitely need to investigate that and make sure we get your name up there somewhere, Phil. Phil is a highly respected leader, also a mentor and educator. And Phil, what we know is that you lead with humility and with empathy, and that is why it is so special. The way you deal with people makes it so special. For Phil, biosecurity is all about our community, our people, our hapu and our iwi, and the relationships he has forged around the region are testament of that. I know that there will be lots of organisations this week, Phil, and when you go, that will be having lots of beautiful words to say to you as well, and they will miss you too. In 2022, Phil was awarded the New Zealand Biosecurity Award. This ministerial award recognises Phil's outstanding contribution and service to biosecurity over so many years. We celebrate and acknowledge Phil's 56 years of service to our region. And Phil, we wish you all the very best with your retirement. We hope that you put your feet up, that you relax. I know it will probably not happen. People like yourself who've always been so active in the community and doing God's work are usually more busy after they retire, because everyone is saying, let's get Phil onto our board. Let's ask Phil to come and join us. So look after yourself. Make sure that you take a lot of time to sit in the sun, enjoy the beautiful region, and make sure to pop in for the odd cuppa so we can keep you up to date with all the goss. But Phil, from us to you, just all the very best. Thank you for serving our community. Thank you for the way you have served our community, and we will miss you. Thank you. Come and join us, Phil.
Morning to everybody. As has been laid out, my history in the district and in my particular mahi, it's the only job I've ever had. So, when you get to my age, you start thinking, well, what other opportunities are out there for a guy my age who's only single focuses one particular activity. But as alluded earlier on, there's a lot to do, a lot more to do, and I've already had calls from different committees to join this and that. But as you say, it's time to have a rest, reflect, and probably just give a new enthusiasm to retirement life, but also for what lays ahead. But I just want to acknowledge that I've thoroughly enjoyed my time with the previous authorities, but also with the Gisborne District Council, who've been probably one of the best employees that I've been with. And thanks to all the staff, previous management, previous CEOs. As you say, I've seen some changes in my time, but I just want to acknowledge and to say thank you and appreciate everything you've supported me with.
Awesome.
ia e matariki ki te whenua. Te maramatanga mo te motu e. Kia tipu he puawai honore. Mo te pani mo te rawa kore. Whakamau ko taku titiro te rerenga o te rā. Tauana te ahuru e ki te manawa. Horahia e matariki ki te whenua. Te maramatanga mo te motu e. Kia tipu he puawai honore. Mo te pani mo te rawa kore. Mo te rawa
And may that song carry you into retirement. Lots of love.
Okay, thank you, that was uplifting. We'll go straight into our agenda items. The first one is a decision appointing a deputy chairperson for this committee. And so we'll start by calling for any nominations. Okay.
I'll second that. I was going to do the same thing.
Okay. This looks like it might be easy. We need to, the recommendation would be to appoint Councillor Muir to be deputy chair. And because it's a person, we vote with our hands. And so all in favour, please raise your hand. And we'll accept that position. Okay. So the next report is our City Centre Revitalisation Program update, and Diane is coming up to give us a short presentation about what's going on there. Thank you. Diane? Welcome.
Kia ora koutou. Through you, the chair. I'll take the paper as read. I've got a very short presentation which I'll take you through. Basically, it's to give you some visuals of things that have been achieved to date and to step out the next steps for the action and investment plan. So, I will stand if you don't mind. So the reason why, councillors, you would have heard for a number of years here, and it came through pretty strongly through the 3-year recovery plan, that there was a call to action from the community for council and others to address the city centre. And we know that the infrastructure, mainly the pavers, are now 30 years old. The last time we did an upgrade was pre-millennium. And a number of empty shops and a growing sense of the city centre dying. We've done a bit to address that since then, and I'll talk through that through the presentation. I firstly just want to cover off the Catalyst initiative, because I know there was a presentation to the leaders, councillors and others in February last year about some early wins that could be achieved following quite extensive community engagement and workshops around what those might look like. And a number of those sites included council public realm areas, so either streetscape or reserves. There has been progress, and Trust Tairāwhiti lead it. The design phase has happened. Both council and Trust Tairāwhiti have committed some funds to capital, and we have some prototypes that have been designed by local fabricators and suppliers. lines of sun lounges and park benches and planter pots, which can quite quickly be developed and implemented on top of what we have. So no consents are required, and it'll activate those spaces, make them comfortable, make them areas for respite, and show some love in that space, while we look at a picture of what bigger investment might look like. What we have been able to do while the Catalyst has been in development and acknowledge some feedback around the process of that has taken time, and it was only last month that the Trust Board were able to confirm their capital input for the Catalyst project. But meanwhile, to show the community what can be achieved in the city centre and that we're giving it some attention, Council has led initiatives that we've been able to do within our own area of influence for a very small budget, but to activate some of these spaces. So one of the initiatives was the Downtown Lounge. So for Thursdays, several Thursdays over the summer months, we've had youth playing in multiple spaces, adjoining where there are eateries, and creating a bit of vibe, if you like, and a bit of fun. So they've been generally well received. We've got our last one this evening outside Neptune's Pizza. It's an evening one, so it starts at 5:30. The band One Boy are playing. And I just want to give a quick shout out to an external supplier, Sarah Cleve, who's previously been connected with Gizzy Local, who's run this event and done really well, really good feedback around activating these spaces. Also out in the city, some of the feedback through the Catalyst was around empty shop fronts and shop fronts looking not great, windows not clean, all that sort of stuff. So this has been an initiative led by Katie Wallace. We got her on board. She ran initially an EOI process to get artists on board, and we've had several pieces now in shop windows and really turned around some of those critical spaces like the first floor of the Masonic and a number of other sites. So we've got a few more to roll out. Katie's now working with Tifiro and Mintuki Kura. So we look forward to seeing what they want to put in these window spaces. This is bringing back something pre-millennium. So Council had a Heritage Facade Fund in the build-up to the millennium to again encourage building owners to front the facade or paint the facade of their buildings to give them a bit of love. So we've co-funded this with the Trust. We have one applicant that's about to go and another where they're applying for resource consent, so they want clarity on removing fire escapes and things on the outside of their building before they commit to the colour program. We will look to promote this more. So 2 applicants, but we would like to see more. But ultimately, we've been quite strategic about where they're located. If they were sporadic and spread throughout the city centre, it wouldn't have the wow of being more accumulative in a high impact zone. So we're working with building owners on that. And that has been generally well received by building owners having the opportunity. It's a small contribution towards the overall cost, but it shows good intent. Green by Nature, we've had the CBD custodian since November last year. She's making a real impact. So that's Deirdre. You might have seen her with the hot pink high-vis vest on. She's on the street nearly every day. I think it's 6 days between sort of 10 and 4 and Saturday mornings. That was responding to the feedback around cleanliness on the street and wanting to see more maintenance of our assets and infrastructure. So she's having a real impact, and I hear that when I walk around building and retailers. So a big shout out to Deirdre. Also, cleaning up of the palms has had a big impact on the debris that's been on the footpath and health and safety danger that was present with beads and whatnot, and the spitting effect that they have. So we've been doing some things while we build a bigger picture. The action and investment plan, you'll remember from previous report and updates, this is about building and designing what do we need to do, how are we going to pay for it, and how it should be delivered to optimise economic uplift in the city centre. So we've been through a procurement process and we've engaged Athfield and consortia to help us deliver this. They are here sitting on the seats and they're milling around enjoying Downtown Lounge when they were here for their site visit a couple of weeks ago. What they will help us do, I'll sit down now, so the Action and Investment Plan will consider three key components. It's the design, and it needs to be tested by what it will cost, who can contribute to funding for it. We know that with caps, rate caps coming, that there is limited headroom for council, and we need to be really strategic about where we invest and what that return will be for the city and private investors as well, and what the funding opportunities are with government and others to fund this project. So it'll deliver the concept, it'll have an investment strategy to go alongside it, who pays, and then the phased impact of delivery. The team will present to you in April around early insights and what those opportunities look like. We've developed the work plan around this committee's governance timeframes and cadence. So the first one will be early insights. In June, it'll be concept options. And then in August, it'll be refined concepts. So you will have multiple opportunities to input. And we will be working in partnership with the Trust and GHL and others. So we know that there's significant investment coming online in the city centre, which is really exciting, but that's their news to tell, not mine. Investors to date have been carrying the city centre a little bit through the apartment upgrades and the things that they've been doing in that space. Our infrastructure is old. They are looking to us to catch up and to mirror in the public realm the investment that they are doing abutting that space. And we know that any city centre that does well and moves forward for the next decade or so, it relies on people choosing to live in the city centre. It relies on buildings and retailers being occupying those spaces. We know we're fighting challenges with people moving out of the city centre. We need to bring them back, and we need to make them friendly spaces that are activated day and night for whānau and visitors to want to be in. So we've got a participate page on the website, and we're getting some feedback from community on that, but we'll keep promoting that space. You can keep an eye on that space. The participate page, our documents are all updated there. With a lot more information to come. So we're excited to have the team on board to drive the Action Investment Plan. We do need to come up with a more snazzy name for it because it's encompassing a lot, and it's the first step on a journey to see the city centre redeveloped. Any questions?
Councillor Thompson.
Just with those, thanks for that report. Just with the historical building blockades, do you approach people, the ones you're wanting painted, or how is that advertised, and do they put money towards it, or how's it sort of?
So we haven't been directly approaching people, but it's up on the website on the participate page. It's co-funded with Trust Tairāwhiti and a maximum of 10k for a single facade or 15k if it's a corner building is available. To give you an example, an application that we've received for a corner building, it will cost 160k to paint that facade. It's a significant size building, and our contribution would be 15. So it's not about cost sharing with the building owner, but it's about saying, if you're thinking about doing it in 5 years, here's a bit of incentive to get you to do it in the next 6 months. That's what that's about. There's a total budget of 50k, so we're not talking huge dollars, but it's about a trial and seeing if it gets some traction.
Fast forward.
Yeah, exactly.
Councillor Foster.
Thank you. Congratulations, Jan. It's pleasing to see that there's some good progress starting to happen in this. My question is that we saw concept plans from Cobus and his team back in the day last year with Trust Tairāwhiti, and they were, to me, they were really exciting. And that's, my question is, are we sticking to that kind of concept? Are we using that as the base to move forward.
Yes, so Corbis visited and was driving the Catalyst designs with Craig Pocock. Craig Pocock has stayed on, so the Trust have continued the contract with him.
And Craig's been around to the businesses as well, which is great. See through the CBD, yeah.
Yes, so now it's about developing those and making them a bit more realistic and testing them at site. So the first round of concepts were very early, those big spaces really. That's now being developed into something that's buildable, and so we've got prototypes happening for that seat furniture and planter pots. And the reason we've been able to push ahead with that is that Council's committed some capital budget to enable that to happen. It's on the streetscape. We can determine what that looks like and enable that to be implemented. The wider stuff requires more input with the three stakeholders to enable that to happen.
Yeah, oh, that's fantastic. The other thing is too that now that we've got this plan and we've it's been put out there pretty much what there's huge work going to be happening in the CBD or structured work. It gives the investors confidence if they want to start investing in properties and seeing what the future could look like. And now this has been laid out. It's really exciting. I'm hearing some really exciting things about how people are really keen to get involved and invest, which is what we want. The CBD is it's our future. Yeah. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thoughts? We hosted a team from Chorus here a couple of weeks ago, and after we caught up, they did a walk between in the town, and then we caught up with them the next day again, and they were very impressed. The one guy said he hasn't been to Gisborne in a long time, and then came back, and he was really impressed by the cleanliness. And one thing that people have raised with me as well is how they love that we shaved the palm trees.
Yeah.
None of those, the birds, remember when birds were poisoned? That was a different chapter in our lives. But overall, everything looks fresh. I know it's old infrastructure. I'm not trying to, but at least the gardens are kept beautifully. So please go back to the team as well. We do paint where we can, try and do the signs up, because people just one nudge with your big Ford Ranger and the sign is like this again. But overall, big shout out to the lady who's the custodian of the CBD as well. I've bumped into her a few times. And then just my last feedback is that paint, the artwork is fantastic. It would be great if we would be able to do it on, if we could talk to the people on the second floors as well to tidy up those areas, but that's not in our hands. But just massive feedback to the two ladies who are leading that. So well done, and I look forward to seeing how it unfolds in the next while. And yes, there are exciting investment stuff coming soon, so we'll update you when that's ready.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Diane, for the delivery, and also thanks for the contributions that Jamie made. That's awesome. I remember in Corbis's delivery, one of his early win suggestions was to start removing our basket palms, which are high maintenance blocking views of when you're looking down at desperately blocking views. They have notch issue and blocking drains. What is the plan for these trees?
Through the Chair, we have sort of a report internally from our arborist around the expected life of those palms, and we'll receive that information. To your point, generally I'd say they're ending the remaining useful life. Think of them as a true asset, and the impact of those palms on public and private assets is not inconsiderable, as you mentioned. The action investment plan, the concept, will consider those palms, but also importantly bringing back native species for shade when we think about urban impact, concrete jungles, and the role that trees have. The palms provide great scale, but what will this shade and biodiversity improvements? So that's all part of the thinking. More information to come, and that'll be put in front of you as options are teased out for the future of the city centre.
Thank you.
Just with the paver replacement plan, just to, I think obviously we can't get the same pavers, and but it looks fairly good. I thought in Peel Street there, where there's been a replacement patch come in. Just how long is that going to take to be rolling out around the pavement replacement?
Sorry, I'm looking to Tim there because through you, the chair, that's something that Journeys is rolling out. I do know that they've been hitting the most high impact spots with some trials and tribulations with those new pavers. But Tim, if you wanted to speak to that.
No, I don't have an answer at present, sorry. I will prioritise it now.
Any more questions?
Yeah, just on page 18.7 there, just says that progress across the program's experiences and challenges, most significantly the inability to secure partnership arrangement with Ramatakata. Can you just give a bit more of an update on that? Like what is the problem, or yeah.
Through you, Chair, we're working on opportunities to partner in true partnership with this project, with the Action and Investment Plan specifically, and we're in progress of trying to work that through. That's probably all I can say at this stage on that one. Ramatakata are at the table for the Catalyst initiatives with Trust Tide Awhiri, and so just recently we've been able to make some great progress in that space. I hope that that'll cross over to the Action and Investment Plan as well. We're considering multiple options if need be.
Okay, if there's no more questions, could I have a mover for this noting paper? Thank you, Councillor Prata, and seconded by Councillor Gibson. All in favour?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on our agenda today is looking at the new regulations on granny flat exemptions with Ian Petty, our Building Services Manager, and Jocelyn.
Today's information paper provides an update on the new regulations pertaining to granny flats, which we heard colloquially granny flats, which have now turned into minor, what was it again, detached minor residential units, which has come out as a national environmental standards in January. And also what exemptions are through the Building Act as well in terms of enabling modern dwellings to 70 square meters. So there are some impacts on council and also landowners across the resource management and building services spaces. So I introduce you Ian White, our consents manager, and Ian Petty, building services manager, who are here to answer any technical questions you may have.
If I could just also explain before we start that the two pieces of legislation don't line up, so there's some quite interesting anomalies in there. I guess one of the major ones is that for the Building Act, all the boundary clearances are 2 metres from any other building, 2 metres from any boundaries. That's not true of the DRAC and DMRU, so it's going to be convoluted and difficult for us and difficult for homeowners as well.
One question. One question I do have is, does a neighbour have any rights whatsoever in this situation with a granny flat being put on a neighbouring property? Do they have any? They don't, you know, the consenting process doesn't require it to be publicly notified or anything like that. So does a neighbour have any redress?
If they meet all of the permitted activity standards, then they will have no redress because no consent is required.
Right. So does that, could that cause some problems?
Possibly. the regulation is a lot stringent than what the current regulations that we have in place.
Right.
Especially around height.
If in a situation where there's a granny flat and it doesn't get connected, so there's no record of any activity being put there other than a granny flat, have we got any redress with that because it's not going to be connected to any of our utilities?
It has to be.
It has to be.
It has to be a standalone dwelling, fully functional. So it can't be a sleep out or anything like that. It has to be a fully functional residential unit. It needs to have plumbing, drainage. It's not strangely, because they call them granny flats, they're not allowed wet area showers, remains like that. It'll be a shower, and they're not allowed to have solid fuel heaters in them.
Right. Yeah. I'll read that there. Okay.
So, yeah, this talks about granny flats. So if you're building a shed under 70 square metres, you get consent for a shed, just not for a granny flat.
You've still got to have a consent for a shed, yeah. If you've got a shed 69 square metres or 70 square metres, you've got to have a consent for it. If you're building a fully attached residential unit, no consent. Yeah, it's weird, but it's a go.
We don't make the rules.
And it also mentions in here that there's no clarification or number. Will that be clarified, or when will we know that?
So that's part of the convoluted legislation overlaps, because in the Building Act, it just says building granny flats allowed. In the years, it says one per established residential unit. So you're only allowed to build one residential unit. You can't, if you've got an empty section, you can't use this legislation. You've got to have a full
Questions?
One more. In terms of, there's a lot of talk in the community about these 70 and everyone thinks that it's got a free run to do what they like, and I think people are sort of doing it already. Is there any comms going out to the community in regards to this? Because I think a lot of people already jumped the gun in there. They think they've got a free run.
Yeah, we've updated our GDC webpage to put information on there for us, and we've also there's a 75-page guidance on the website, so we direct people to that.
What website, sorry?
MB website.
Also, with this being in public paper, it obviously could be picked up by the media to explain to the community. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I should have asked before. Can a caravan be converted into a granny flat?
No, it has to be a brand new build.
Brand new.
Anything that started before the 15th of January doesn't count.
Right.
Can't use the exception.
Councillor Telfer.
Yeah, just page 29, point 21 there, it's just saying about that people and lawyers still choose to proceed against council advice, and this could lead to buildings being constructed in significant risk zones. So where are we there? Like, do we want something being built on a low-lying piece of land that's going to get flooded? It comes back on us.
A very good question. We have to advise them in a a flood-prone area or something like that. The guidance basically says you can ignore this. So, for example, floors are allowed to be higher than 1 metre to meet the exemptions. If you are building at Tikaraka, all the floors out there, because of the Gabrielle floor heights, would have to be greater than 1 metre. But buildings out at TK, possibly, but they just build them. We've got no oversight whatsoever. legal advice is we keep well away from it. It's the homeowner's sole responsibility to make sure that they comply under the Building Act and under any law.
Just supplementary to that, that means that even though you can build the granny flat to that size without consent, you still need consent to be able to hook up the because they have to be hooked up to the services. So there still needs to be a plan and making sure that that complies with council regulations, doesn't it?
They have to do a PIM, which is Project Information Memorandum, which we tell them all the things they have to do. If they don't do it, once again, we've got no oversight. They have to use qualified tradespeople, so they have to use drainers, they have to use licensed building professionals to build, licensed electrician. But if you are building a house, we make sure we get the electrical certificate and stuff afterwards, or make sure that it is being done. But while it says in the guidance that they still need to do that, if no one ever tells us finished and they never give us that documentation, we haven't got a code compliance certificate we can hold back or anything. So the building that could be unsafe can be built and can sit there.
So the one piece that may, like, if they're building a building and spending that much money doing that, then want to get insurance, surely insurance companies are then going to want it to make sure that it's, well, I would presume, maybe that's a piece that might force people to actually get it ticked off.
So I mean, building costs $3,000 to $4,000 a square metre. And you're looking at, $210,000 to $280,000 to build one of these if you're building it properly. If you have to get money from the bank, are the banks going to loan on buildings that don't have building consents? We don't know. Are insurers going to insure it? We don't know.
Mayor Stotts.
Ian, when this was announced, I was immediately thinking of how many houses you and I deal with and visit where someone has constructed something some time ago and now it has affected the drainage of that house and that then caused flooding or issues. And I was immediately thinking lots of those that you and I have dealt with someone maybe 10 years ago who changed some construction somewhere, covered over a drain, and it was only later then, it might be consented or unconsented, and then later those issues become apparent when it might be work at this house, but the issue is only seen at a house 2 or 3 houses down. And I was immediately thinking that this have the opportunity to become that, where people do construction, and especially with what someone asked about low-lying areas. And so I'm interested in your opinion if you see this causing more drainage type issues to us, not only with having more impermeable surfaces in a backyard, but with construction happening which would be more loose. I agree that's what the government want people to do stuff in their backyards, but then consequently having issues for the council downstream where we then deal with drainage issues.
Yeah, and that's another very good question, because we get lots and lots of complaints from neighbours that say, I've got ponding on my back lawn and I've never had it before, and it's all my neighbour's fault because they've got rusty spouting or something like that. What this has got could happen here is people don't like laying their stormwater pipe out to the road if they've got a long run to do it. And so they put soak pits in there. We've got very, very strict rules on where we put soak pits in because of our heating boils in Gisborne. So someone can think, well, I'm going to save myself a whole lot of money. I'm not going to run the stormwater out to the road or out to the council service. I'm going to put a soak pit in my heavy clay soil. It's not going to work. It's going to run under the fence and into the neighbours, and then we'll get RFSs on that it's all my neighbour's fault. And how we enforce that is interesting because the legislation is so permissive. So people could say, well, we've just followed the legislation, and therefore we're on the side of the angels.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for that interesting report and the thing that Jocelyn. Could I have someone to move this noting paper? Thank you, Councillor Parata, seconded by Councillor Foster. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Passed. We'll do this next item, Land Rivers and Coastal before morning tea. And thank you, Joss. Thank you for this noting report. Do you want to give it an intro? Read?
Kia ora tātou. Yeah, please take the report as read and ask any questions. There's probably only a couple of things to add to that. One with regards to the partners hui that was held at Hako Marae on the 9th of February that went positive, reassuring questions taken with that. And then probably only other comments with regards to the LRC assets in Te Araroa. Not a significant amount of assets there, just a drainage network. Those have been inspected and largely found to be in reasonably good condition. They were dug out in early 2025, all of them, maintained. So one of the reasons like that, but they're sort of away from that Ponaruku area as well. But those are the only two comments that I wanted to raise, but yeah, happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Chair. The question about the Ohako Marae engagement, is that just for the village Māori, or are farmers in the region welcome to that? Because there was some confusion about who was invited. Some farmers, two farmers that I know of did go because they thought they were invited. And then there's a big bunch of us that didn't know anything about it.
Just to the Chair to respond to that, yeah, it was arranged by others within GDC, not with our team. The intention for that was, original intention for that was a hapu engagement, partners engagement, to cover some consenting elements to do with willow eradication and a pump station consent. And that was widened name a piece to include others. I'm not sure about the engagement and the communication, but it sounds like we could have done better with that meeting.
Well, that's what I've heard. No one knew about it at all. And yet we were supposed to be invited at 11 o'clock. Anyway, that's enough on that. Can I ask more questions about the willows? Question one, is the spray going to be put on this autumn?
Through the Chair, so there is a consent for aerial spray that's underway now. Consultations occurring. We are anticipating or envisaging that to be approved to allow us to use different technology, which is drone spraying, which will allow us to do more for less within our same budget. Can do more spraying because you use less, more efficient.
The consent for that's going to take a whole year to come through, and that, if you're going to rely on that, does that mean that the whole project of spraying this autumn is on hold?
Through the Chair, spraying will occur. If it's manual spraying is what we'll do if we don't get consent. We just need to do that before early May. Late May, start losing leaves, can't do spraying, so we do have time between now and early May to undertake that work. And spraying will occur in what form to be confirmed or subject to that consent approval process.
Any other questions for our Land Rivers and Coastal people? Councillor Foster.
This might have been brought up at a previous meeting if the risks are the same, but the management of eels, is that becoming too much of a problem and causing extra costs because of our consent conditions?
It did come up at the last meeting.
It's not our consent conditions, it's national consent conditions.
I'll answer it first, go and Joss will correct me. We've committed to a certain process in undertaking our works. In answer to your question, does it incur a different cost, it will have an effect on productivity because we've got an additional step. We're making some efforts to work out what those costs entail, so that we can draw them into a more balanced approach to how we rate for these particular water bodies. But yes, it does affect productivity somewhat, but it's achieving the intent of the approach that we've agreed to do, and it forms part of our consenting process. Yeah.
So, I mean, eels are important, don't get me wrong, but the drainage is pretty important as well as with our weather events. So,
Ms. Stoltz.
Can I just clarify, just in regards to the eels, because it is brought up in the national media as well, that is not optional for us, Joss. That's something you cannot dig during the inanga spawn period. You can only get a consent to do drainage work outside, except like we did with the Makaretu stream, where we did apply, and then when we started digging, as soon as you dig and there's an eel there, you need to stop anyway. So it's not us deciding to save the eels, it is us complying with national regulation. Is that correct? I just wanted to make sure we understand.
Yes, through the Chair. So within our global consent to do maintenance work, there is a requirement for managing eels and returning them back into the hawa. So we don't have a choice. It's not, we can't not do it. So there is a cost associated with that, providing a person to collect them and put them back in, and it does have a productivity cost. So can't do as much with the money budgets that we have.
Just to jump off the back of Ross's comment, so it's under the National Policy Statement for Freshwater is where this has come from, but also our treaty settlement obligations. It's a significant cultural value in terms of inanga and out the eels in the waterway. So you're kind of balancing those off against productivity, and kind of a given. So.
Thank you. Councillor Gibson.
Can I ask that that this coverage is just for two of the many highly valued mahinga kai species that inhabit those spaces? So inanga being one, tuna being another, both really at risk, short fin. But you know, is it correct that we have no coverage still for giant kōkapu? We have no protections still for mudfish. We have no protections for pātiki. We have no protections for all of the other highly valued mahinga kai species. Just those two, is that correct?
In response, I can't answer that question.
Jocelyn.
Perhaps I could clarify a wee bit on that, Councillor Gibson. We, so as Nadine mentioned, the National Policy Statement for Freshwater Management, which was introduced in 2020, had mandated councils to change their regional plan functions to include values and attributes, including protecting those sacred species, and those would be regionally specific outside of some nationally set values. Now that process was meant to be completed by 2024. That has now been pushed out to December 2027, and we are yet to see now what the national government's take on or I guess mandate around notification of our plan post 2027. It may even be stretched out to that. So that is something that's part of our freshwater planning framework, and you will absolutely see that in our plan once we're able to notify.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Order.
Thank you. I note that 5% of our drains are going to be cleared annually. That means 20 years between digs. Our productive flats will become swamp. Maybe some people's wish, but it's not going to do this region any good. We have to find a more efficient way of clearing our drains so our productive farmland can continue to be productive and not have dead trees propping up all over the place. we're dealing with traffic management and eels. We've got to find a more efficient way of dealing with those two things to get more bang for buck, and I brought that up yesterday. The other thing I would say, I think on behalf of farmers, we'd be happier to pay more to get more drainage done, but we're not happy when we see inefficient things happening out there. What about sectioning off a drain, 50 eel traps in there a week and a month before, take all the eels out of that system, whip in there and get the digging done quickly. There must be another way of dealing with these issues. That's my comment, thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Councillor Order. Also in this paper it does mention that additional budget is required and as current budgets are insufficient, and we are going into 10-year plan, long-term planning, where we can prioritise what we see as most important, so we can all remember that as we go into that. Councillor Telfer.
Yeah, just on your comment there, that's one thing I had noted down here about about budget restrictions. Basically, we need more money, but we're in a position at the moment that we've got to start living within our means. We've got rate capping coming at us saying we can't put rates up to any more to achieve this. We need to look for efficiencies, and I agree with Colin. We've got to look at efficiencies. The thing of just saying we need more money all the time, we need to increase it by X number of % every year. We can't keep doing that. That's what we've been doing. That's why we've ended up in this position. So we do have to start looking for efficiencies, not so much we need more money, because it's not there.
I'd like to respond to the Chair. Thank you, Councillor Telfer. What I would say is there's a bit of both here. We are looking for efficiencies, but we actually are recognising an underinvestment in our 300 odd kilometres of drainage over a duration of time. We haven't tracked the actual relative costs efficiently since the 1980s. Really, it hasn't been an issue. And with respect to the targeted rates and rate capping that's coming, the government's unclear as yet about whether potentially targeted rates that are in the community's interest and they agree to be subject to the capping or not. But in our instances, changes and enhancements in our requirements, such as e-nung protection, etc., haven't actually been built into the management costs of this. At the same time, everything else hasn't been built into them too. So 5% of drainage is nowhere near enough. We need to be, in practice, 7, but budgeting for 10 because other things occur. And we need to get on top of it. And our efforts that we've done with a lot of the modelling, etc., and focus in this area is demonstrating that the value of getting to a certain level of resilience, but also understanding that drainage is just that, it's not flood protection. So sometimes those two things are convoluted, and productivity in the most important areas does need to be protected, but it will require, and we're signalling it will require additional funding if we're going to meet the level of service that is desired by the community. If not, it will continue as is, and with underserved and 5% type of budgeted rating. So there is a need for Pūtea, but we also take on point the importance of looking for efficiencies where we can find it.
Thank you. If there's no more questions on this paper, is there someone who will move the noting paper? Thank you, Councillor. Second. Councillor Gibson. Thank you. All in favour? Aye. Against? Passed. Thank you. We'll have a 15-minute break before 10 and we'll do 6 subject groups, just in case people have questions. And we're going to start off with livable spaces. And
Morning, yeah, just a general update from our end that I'll take as read. Probably the big updates for us since the last general update of this kind is we're now 7 months or so into our new service contracts, which was a significant process last year, and effectively 7 years of service for all of our parks and open spaces and public maintenance. Big focus for our team has been shifting how we manage these contracts to make sure that as they're new, we're embedding them really effectively and we're maximising the value that's we're getting from them with great contract management, performance management, and contractor relationships that support that. So as a reminder, with these contracts, we now have a city contract, which is held by Green by Nature, that we're formally recreational services. Our Uawa Tawhiti contract is held by Tāmai Grey, and goes from Waihao Bay or Waihao Loisels up to Te Puia Waipiro, and then Matakawa's service is contracting, and out to the west, the Waipawa contract is serviced by Pomana contracting. Aside from that, moving forward, our focus is going to be continuing down that path. We've also aiming for a significant public convenience upgrade at Uawa, the Main Street facility there, in the next couple of months. And we're also going to be beginning engagement on a place-based renewal in Elgin. We've started some stakeholder engagement on that. We will engage wider community on that over the coming months to develop a concept ahead of what will be a staged construction, the first stage achievable within the 3-year plan budget, and the second stage for further consideration at a later date, effectively. That one has been to council last year, and probably as a reminder, we noted the lack of equitable play space in Elgin and open space. The decision was made by council at that point to prioritise renewal budgets into a significant play space renewal at Blackpool Park, with a view to creating more equitable play outcomes in Elgin effectively. So that's a strong focus for our team, and the trade-off that was sort of noted at the time is that we do have to make some compromises in our wider renewals, and we have an older asset network within our playgrounds, and in some cases we are having to retire some equipment and not replace it to enable the sort of equitable outcomes that we're getting in Elgin as well. So there'll be more updates on that project as we move towards it as well.
Does anyone have any questions on that? Councillor Gibson.
Firstly, thank you for your work, giving our children places to play. Love the equitable, because I've lived in Elgin, understand that. I want to touch on the nature play projects that have come up, and I've observed that children are playing with these giant wooden coda and these fungus houses made out of tree stumps over our flash plastic playgrounds, which is really interesting. And I want to understand this a little bit more around cost. What's the cost as far as establishing these nature play tools over more constructed ones, and what's the ongoing maintenance cost of these natural solutions over more constructed ones?
Yeah, through the chair, I think that's work that really proud of the team to have led. We are one of those councils that's leading practice in that space in the country. The benefit of those nature play projects is that they're using sustainable local materials. They're much lower cost than proprietary play equipment. They're a much better environmental outcome. The trade-off is they will have a shorter life, effectively, but we're seeing proprietary play equipment and its associated compliance increasing significantly over time, and the cost of maintaining playgrounds has increased significantly, but those are a low cost and high outcome response. And the benefit of that as well is, they are kids playing with natural materials, ideally in natural landscapes as well. So yeah, that's something that we've led, and we've developed a set of guidelines that's sort of being used in other councils now as well to make sure that those are safe and compliant, but also navigate the playground compliance measures in a pragmatic way.
Just a question about the new toilets at Kaiti Beach. I've got to praise you, they were actually awesome. And they used so well, but and it was great to see that they're locally made. I mean, there's always different toilets you can buy around the country, portaloos and all that kind of stuff, but these are actually really, really cool. Are they locally made for the country or just for our region, or have you?
Yeah, through the chair, that was constructed by Perma Group, who are actually, they're one of the country's leading suppliers of prefabricated public conveniences based here. And yeah, their work is elsewhere around the country as well.
Yeah,
they do very well.
I could take an orange one.
Yeah, fantastic. I think I've got another question too. Titirangi, as far as the maintenance goes, I mean, I've seen the time it's taken to do these tracks. I know there was a heritage problem with us doing the work prematurely or something on those tracks that have slipped away. But you know, the amount of work that's been going on there is fantastic. But there's quite a few other tracks on Titirangi that do need some TLC drastically, particularly before winter. One that's from the top of the hasn't got any name. It's from the top of the hill that goes right down and comes up by where the other brick thing. It used to be all Diane's, Princess Diane's trees. Yeah.
Sounds like an RFS.
Yeah. So that walkway in wintertime is really quite treacherous, and it just needs to put more water. But at the moment it's fine. But well, yeah. And the other one is from the stairs, the big stairs that go up. I mean, it's all come away, and all the cloth underneath is exposed and everything, and there's little trenches going through it. So yeah, there's a bit of work need to be done because it's used so often. You know, there's so many people on the hill every day, and even the track that goes from Shady Oaks round to the bottom of the stairs, there's trees that have come down there that and needs a bit of TLC on there as well. So yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. I guess a few RFSs in there. Is anyone else? Mr. Teddy.
We're doing the whole report?
We're going to move on to the aquatics next, okay?
What was next, sorry?
Aquatics, page 47 to 48. And our friend isn't here, but Michelle's going to answer what she can. If there's any questions on that.
Great, and yeah, I've just got a couple of highlights. So Cam, yes, he's up proposed working with our local schools up proposed to have swimming pools. So I think that's a fantastic reason why he's not here today. So just in terms of a couple of key highlights, stage 2 redevelopment of the outdoors is really moving ahead, which is great. Currently just going through some consultation, and there's a questionnaire that's imminent with customers just to understand what their preferences are, why they visit the pool, why they don't visit the pool, and how we effectively help ourselves to maximise customer experience, maximise customer use, and minimise expenditure. So being really smart about how we do that redevelopment in the outdoors. Swim Tangaroa, the swim school, so has nearly 200 participants. There has been a challenge with recruiting the swim instructors. Noting that contract, the first 3 years finishes this year, so shortly over the coming months you'll receive a report which outlines the options going forward when we reach that 3-year term. Just in terms of the cafe, the other one I wanted to touch on, so our second cafe operator has concluded operating, which is unfortunate. So we have had 2 cafe operators attempt to operate in there. They did run at a deficit this year. So what we're doing in the short term is looking at the team behind the counter will be offering the essentials in terms of food and some simple beverage options, but we'll be looking at the long term at what we can do in that space, and it will be part of that outdoor redevelopment.
Aquatics questions. Councillor Foster.
Yeah, thank you. Over the summer, there was quite a lot of times where my grandson was going to the outdoor Waterfly, the kids area and everything, and it was closed some of the hottest days that we've had because of staffing issues apparently. So is that being addressed, or is that the reason? I mean, it all comes back to Gruntle because the beautiful area that we've got there is closed because of staffing issues, and it should. Yeah, to me that was like.
Yeah, absolutely. I can follow up on that one, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we obviously we'll do our very best to make sure that we've got the right staff on the day. Sometimes you have sickness, so staff call in sick, and with the aquatics facility, it's a 100% imperative that we have the right staffing numbers for the facilities available. And when things happen outside of our control and people are sick, then sometimes we do have to, unfortunately, have some facilities not operating. But I can follow up on that one, because obviously I totally acknowledge the hydroslide is a key. So.
Well, so this the problem with the area that people want to go to, and then all of a sudden they can't because.
Councillor Parata.
I don't have any feedback in terms of the report. I'm happy that makes sense. I like what it is that we're doing. I just had a compliment for the staff at the Kiwa Pools. Over the summer period and over the last few weeks, I've taken my youngest up quite a few times, and every time I go in and they talk directly to my son and I explain, oh, he's non-verbal, they look at me confused as why I felt the need to say that and carry on talking to him. And I just wanted to give the compliment that it's so nice to be in a space where everyone seems welcomed into that space, and the staff there seems so warm and so genuinely happy for people to be coming in. And it wasn't just my kids, there was a little girl behind me, and every child and every person is greeted as warmly, and I think that's part of the experience. It's not just the facility, it's how much we want you to be here, how happy we are to see you in this space, and the staff at Kiwa Pools do that well.
Councillor Thompson.
Just the numbers there, I'm just looking at the band sales, it says an increase by 5,000 in December and January. So is that saying there's an extra 170 hydrocide bands sold every day in January and December and January? Because that seems an awful lot.
Yeah, I can't be certain, so I'd have to come back to you on that one. Perhaps schools and competition numbers, but that is what the
The swim school where it says there's 200 participants, but you're struggling to find swim teachers, so is that 200 participants without a teacher, or they've got a teacher but it's a struggle?
No, we're fully covered with teachers, so we're okay. But it is just making sure that the swim field is to grow. Then obviously that requires more teacher numbers. So we have adequate teachers.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to cultural activities, which is page 49 to 65. 55, sorry.
Through the chair, kia ora koutou, in a while since I've come and said hello. I'm just mindful that this is July to December, so we're sort of still in winter coming into summer there, and also that we are in year 2 of a recovery plan. So I'll focus on the really, really exciting parts, which is when you think retrospectively, actually, we've all got a lot done. But in the art and public places area, the Te Ikaroa Rauru, aka the 1,000 Year Bridge, was handed over to Liveable Communities, completed, finished, opened, blessed, handed over. So that is completed and done, and part of Liveable Communities. as was the viewing platform for Te Maro, which was quite a while coming, and that is completed. It's wooden and is a good stopping place, pause point to look at the harbour and also contemplate. In future 3 months, this is still working on the signposting for both of those areas of storytelling and storyboards. They're going really well. Also, rather than creating new artworks, we looked at restoration of some of our assets, and one was the Kaiti skate bowl, which there's a tiny little picture there, but I don't know if you can appreciate how incredibly beautifully smooth it is. It's been done by a real expert, and in combination with that, there was a kind of a community effort into creating a mural on it, which is also pretty cool. Commencing in December, the Tauihu Te Ronga Whakamana, the canoe prow in Haupipi Park, after 30 years of no maintenance, is having a full restoration, and it's coming along. It's been amazing, the community contact with Te Aturangi Nepote, who's doing the restoration. He's also the artist. Just the conversations, the people asking about it, people who've walked past it every day, not even noticed it in 30 years. It's coming up in the next week or so. There'll be, keep your eye out on the council comms for a really good video interview with Te Aturangi about the whole story to do with it, and we've got more plans coming up around that as well. To go apart from the Taui, who is also the actual plinth and so on, and a bit of levelling of the grass in that area as well. So those are the big exciting things. Oh, but wait, there's more. Leisner House, which is part of the museum complex, owned by council, under need of maintenance as well. It has been completed, new roof, repairs to all the walls, windows, paint job, looks great, and the people that use it, the Artist Society, are very happy about that, and really great communication with them as well. You will notice that the works for the museum roof are underway. It's pretty exciting too. Yeah. I'm not sure if my life is getting more limited or these things are just
happening.
I find them happening. It's really exciting. And at the library, the Kaituhu Māori National Writers, who was held in October in Gisborne, which was also a really big event. People coming from all around the country, and held over a few venues, and Witi Hamaira, he was patron and organiser of the rangatahi writing events. That's probably the key one. I hate to say it alongside, but workshops around dying matters was really, very well received by our community as well. And I guess the other key thing in that period of time is that the theatres and halls, when I say halls we mean Paritahi Hall, the division of hiring was 75% local users and 25% non-local, which is quite a turnaround from the period just after COVID as well, so that's pretty neat too. We'll see in the report what's coming up and what our risks are, so I think that probably covers it.
Thank you. Anyone got any questions for Penny? Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, can I just start with the museum roof? Why it wasn't put on GETS or put out to tender?
It's not a replacement.
Sorry?
It's not a replacement of the roof, it's a repair job. Some bits have been replaced. But I don't actually know the answer to that, so I'll find out.
Oh yeah, I've just had some phone calls with upset people, a few upset people. And yeah, and the other question is, yeah, they seem to think it was nothing actually wrong with the roof. It was maintenance of leaves and internal gutters, and it's the leaves blocking the gutters, so you either need to continually maintain it so that the gutters don't fill when it floods, or remove the tree. So they seem to think replacing the roof is pointless. Just wondering if that's been considered. I haven't seen the year's roofing. I haven't seen the roof myself. I'm just going off phone calls I've received.
Thank you. Councillor Parata.
Thank you for your opportunity. This is exciting and awesome to see so many things happen over the last previous months. I just note that it feels like there's a lot that's going on in Te Tairāwhiti, and I know that council does our best to provide the community with kind of like a schedule of what's going on, but if we're being really realistic, our reach is not that far and it's not that wide, and people don't really come looking for us on our channels unless they've got a problem. So I would love to see all of this mahi, all of these opportunities, all of these shows. I would love to see them more widely publicised, but they might not be our channels. We might need to actively work with other, other champions, other community groups, so that they can start promoting the stuff that we do, because it just feels like there's a lot going on, but if you don't know where to look, you don't know what's happening, and because there's no place to see it, I feel like it's not getting the maximum traction that it could be getting, is what I'm trying to say. And so I think there's some mahi there that council can do, because I don't think it's us and our channels. I think we're doing what we can do and trying to tell people this is where you can find it on our websites. But maybe the best thing to do is start asking other community organisations, other local boards to start sharing the stuff. And maybe this needs to be a partnership, so these messages are going out to communities, out to school boards, like to, and notices at school letters, or, like the Pātutahi community group and the Ruatoria buy and sell. Like, those places have a lot of audiences that are not looking at our own website, and I just feel like in 2026, all of our people deserve the arts and opportunities to experience it, and I'd love to see that. Thank you.
Thanks, that's great.
So we do have those sorts of things in action, and we're coordinated with Gizzy Local in terms of sharing some of the information that we're doing across council partners. There is an algorithm issue with Facebook when we do tag people, which has the potential to shut us down if we overuse it. So we're working through those sorts of issues to be able to share.
What I'm sort of suggesting is, instead of it needing to be authored by us, so reshared, I'm wondering if actually that relationship is direct. So working with the administrator of the various pages, get them to post it. If they want to tag us, but people know it's a Gisborne District Council thing.
Which is what we're doing with Gizzy Local, so there is that potential to sort of make it.
I'm just conscious that, Gizzy Local do an awesome job, but there's heaps of other ways, like, how many followers you got? Sam, heaps, eh?
Oh, we don't need to talk about that.
But the point is that people like Sam, there's heaps of them, they can start sharing the messages too, so people can see it. Thank you.
Councillor Gibson.
You're 100% correct. It's one of my pet frustrations as well. I think the key thing to realise algorithm-wise is that while council has a limited reach, actually many of our community organisations have a limited reach as well, and what you just touched on is very valid. The key strategy that tourism, like Tairāwhiti, Gisborne tourism have used is to bring in people with large followings and use that, and it's content that they've created based on their emotional connection with those events and those kaupapa. So it gets huge traction. It's been used in other regions, and it's something that we can grow to, because realistically, the generations coming through, websites don't work and organisational pages don't work.
you. Mayor Stoltz.
I agree with what both of you say, but I want to give a counter to that. I absolutely agree that, and we started the trend with the lovely gentleman who did our election, I forgot his name. Yeah. Yes, doing that, where we did get a lot, and Etabe Jeff, who does a lot of stuff as well. The only when both of you spoke, what I was thinking of is every organisation is struggling with exactly what we are struggling with. Schools, Trustite Awhiti, everyone is struggling to get their message across. And I'm just cognizant that they might not want to share our stuff because they are trying to get their own kaupapa across. So you understand where I'm coming from when I say, yes, we should use the smart social media stuff, which the TikToks and people with huge following, because that's how people connect. But I am cautious that for, say, school boards or other organisations, they are struggling just as much to get their message across, so they might not be that keen to latch their wagon to ours. Just a different thought. Same kaupapa and support us trying to get different ways to get our messages out.
Can I have a supplementary since I've first that started this conversation?
It's a bit of a queue.
Sorry. Yep. But what I really meant was not in the way that we use influencers and to not be wedded to the idea that our branding is attached to it. So that's half the issue, is that organisations, and I get why they do, they get really committed or passionate about their branding being all over the message. But when we don't need to be committed to that, we just need to be like this, that, the next thing, that show, this artwork, that hikoi, this is where all the things are. Anei, if you want to put your own branding on it, here, have it. So that those messages go out. These people, these community groups, they can just tell their folks to come along. When we get there, if it's our event, we'll put up a big sign so people know. But the idea is that we just want our community to know what's happening. They don't need to know where the brains and the money behind it. That's was kind of my point, is that I don't want us to pay anybody to share the message. We should just be sharing it because we want all of our people, all of our kids, all of our nannies to get to these things. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Alder and Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, this is a real issue for this council, I believe, and I'd like a question answered, perhaps Nadine could answer it. How many comms staff do we have, and do we have a figure on how much we're spending on comms?
I cannot give you that right now. I'll go back and get information for you.
Thank you.
Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, just looking at that skate bowl, is that actually the colours and stuff, it looks awesome. Just wondering, is that a local artist? And do we, I'm just looking at this and there's no name there. Is there any way to promote?
Yeah, it's because me, I should know his name. He also does surfboards and what's his name?
Be good to just get his name.
Yeah, I'll tell you his name. He does surfboards. He's art teacher at Gisborne Boys High School. He got all the boys from Boys High, did all of the artwork at
Brett Summerley.
Thank you. At the Longline Classic, all those artwork and around the stage and everything was those boys, and the boys came and helped.
So it's the Boys High students?
Not necessarily Boys High students, but mainly guys from around Kaiti, teenagers.
Yeah, how long does it take to do?
Not long.
Shut for a while, or is
Oh, well, the long time was resurfacing, grinding down the actual bowl itself. I mean, it was pitted to ruin, basically. And it's pretty stunning, isn't it?
If it's a local artist, it'd be good to get their name out there. But yeah, if he's a teacher, it might be
He's
as
a
like.
busy guy, busy painting.
He's really well renowned, eh?
Okay, well, thank you for that, Penny. We will move on to land management operations on page 53. And
Bryce.
a couple of pages there.
Yeah, so I can just talk to some of the key highlights. Obviously, the team continues to work on their key land management function
education advocacy across the Rohi, erosion control plans, land use classification mapping is a key priority. Our nurseries, operating our nurseries, and if you've got any questions about them, I'm sure Bryce will be able to help me with those. Associated with that is the work of the Transition Advisory Group and the business case development. Some further work, further information will be coming to you soon about where we're at in that space. And yeah, so in terms of the focus for the next 3 months, the Hill Country Erosion Program applications has now, that's now open, so we'll be working carefully to land our approach for that fund, which is quite significant for this team, as those who were at the last council year, that fund did fund part of our team, so in terms of our team composition. So a number of them are on fixed term contracts, so we're just working through that at the moment to really try to drive that forward and make it a little bit more secure. Yeah, so I think probably on that.
Thank you. Is there any questions on the land management operations? Councillor Telfer.
Sort of not really on this paper, but just considering the situation we're in up at Te Aroha and explain what I've had inquiries about people wanting to, they've got trains and creeks that go through their property, just completely, that aren't there anymore, they're completely silted up and the water's just going everywhere. As far as getting in there and the digger and doing it, how do they go about that? Like, is that a resource consent process to be able to do that, or can they just get in there and get the water back to where it should be? Like, how do we go about that? That's quite interesting. That's a real issue at the moment.
So I might just comment through the chair. What we're waiting for is that special legislation to enable to just pretty much get on and do that without having to go through a resource consent. We understand that some work is being done. So similar to after the Cyclone Gabrielle, we had special legislation that enabled people to get in there and just clear out. So we're just hoping for that soon. Otherwise, it's a consenting. Correct.
So any time frames? Because like what happened this last weekend, the work that they've been doing, all this got
filled up again.
Caught up again, and they just ringing me, open the drains up. So not any time frames we can give them.
We can't at the moment. It's not within our hands. So the special legislation is with government, central government, to make a decision on. So that's when they make a decision.
Councillor, I just remind you that there's microphones up here and it's very hard to hear you when you turn around that way.
I also just say, Councillor Telfer, also when we received quite a few calls from people sort of actually wanting to know what the consent process might be for works on their property. So we've been guiding them through that and definitely providing them with the easiest path from A to B. So we are definitely in communications with members in the community.
Any other questions on the land management? Councillor.
You can rely on me, Chair. So just a question around the council owning and managing a nursery. There are public nurseries, one owned by Rongofa Carter, I believe. And so we're in this space competing against commercial entities. And I'm just wondering how we will serve that. Is it a business we should be in? And if it is a business we should be in, then maybe we should be have a pothole fixing team as well. I was trying to figure where the line is. Do we have a budget? And what is the budget for our nursery? And are we checking that it is cost effective, that the cost per plant is the same as or cheaper than we could get off the open market?
I guess I could speak to this. The nurseries 10 years ago wound down to a point where they were almost closed. They only survived because of the desire to keep those species around. There was no interest at all. There are some small nurseries. We provide at the moment between 10 and 15,000 poles a year. History, we were planting 100,000 poles a year in the 1980s, so it's a relatively small amount. We are the largest provider by far. I'm not aware of what Rangawhakata are doing. We have been short of poles every year in the last, I can say, 3 to 4 years. So we haven't been able to meet the demand. We have demand from around the country from time to time. We've sold poles into Bay of Plenty, Taupo, and even down into, I think, Wanganui. So it really depends on what the demand is. It's a very fluid situation, and we're talking about what could be happening with the tag. We could need triple the amount of material if that finance came through, because one of the major hold-ups is the cost of material. So if there's some subsidy, if some available, then the demand could, and also through our requirements, that could triple. Are we in a position to deal with that? It would probably take us 3 to 4 years to meet that. We have some private people just across the river. They're supplying only to their own farms, and they've said that once they've satisfied the demand for their own farms, they will go on to the market. The prices that we are using are equivalent to the prices around New Zealand, so that's basically the way we do it. One could argue that we are even providing some subsidy into that, but at the moment there's no talk of subsidies because there are other funding sources going in to cover that nursery from the farms that we have.
Thank you.
If there's no other questions, we'll carry on to our next topic, which is regional biodiversity and biosecurity. Amy and Phil, last time.
Just like to echo the Mayor's acknowledgements earlier. Phil has been an amazing colleague to work alongside, and more recently the biosecurity team have been reporting into me, so I've gotten to work much more closely with Phil over the last few months. But what I know of him is that he's always generous. He is the epitome of piritahi tairāwhiti. You know, his team is out there supporting other teams around council and around the region Phil. So a couple of words to you. A couple of highlights from our section of the report. I wanted to acknowledge Taylor Hills and Mike Pyatt. Taylor's part of our Home Manute Water team, and Mike is in Phil's team at Biosecurity. They led the Spartina control program over the summer. You'll know that it took a long time for us to get to the point where we could control all of that Spartina from the pilot project that we did out here. We had a lot of requirements around weather and other variables that needed to be met, and luckily those came together for us, and that was a really successful program. And also to thank the support from the comms team, planning team and others around council who helped us carry that out successfully. The Spartina has been in our regional pest management plan for the last 10 years, and we have been unable to get the funding to do that, so it's great that we've been able to make use of the MFE funds to carry out that project, and our biosecurity team will continue with spot maintenance of that over the next few years as required. The other thing that I wanted to highlight is our Home Manute Water program is due to wrap up in June this year, so we're into the last sort of 4 months or so of that program. The team are working really hard on delivery of the last key milestones, and there's some exciting work happening out at the Waikanae Awa at the airport. We're also aware that we're going to have some ongoing maintenance costs associated with that program, just to make sure that the plantings that have been established already can continue to establish successfully over time. So we're working with MFE at the moment around securing some funding to carry through into future years for that maintenance, and we'll keep you updated with how that goes.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Amy? Yes. Just Councillor Taufa and then Councillor Foster.
Yeah, just on the targeted pest plants. There's 13 plant species regularly monitored. Just wondering, our roads right around the region at the moment are turning into seed sources of woody nightshade, and then they're spreading into everybody's properties, and a lot of people aren't even realising that's a noxious weed. It's that prolific. So I'm just wondering, is there anything happening with that, or is that are they part of this 13 plant species, or where does that sit?
30 plants are our priority ones, which are the ones we focus around eradication. The woolly nightshade is what we call in our preventive containment. We know it's fairly widely established. We understand that certainly we have a problem with dealing with woolly nightshade on the roadsides and adjoining adjacent land as well. So there needs to be a collaborative approach between our other council colleagues to manage their roading corridor, and then the adjacent landowner has some obligations to be doing the same. So there is and it's not only woolly nightshade, there are other weed issues as well. So we need to be working closely with our roading team to identify those where adjacent landowners are doing control of similar weeds, that they can work closely together. So it's something that we certainly want to focus on going forward. We know there's a lot of work to do, and as you say, it's woolly nightshade's one of probably several weeds that we're mindful of.
Because it was actually a council officer that brought that to our attention. It was in one section, and they noticed it from the road, and came and said about it. And then they told all of us, and so we've been making a concerted effort. It's coming up like wildfire, but right up the road is just this massive seed source that's getting worse. So I think it's something that if we're not careful, it's going to be rampant. We dealt earlier on last year, right up the coast. There was photos that came in of some of the roadsides up there. So we've got to be aware that that's our responsibility. We're creating a problem that needs to be addressed pretty quickly. Otherwise, it's going to be out of control. I noticed Bay of Plenty have done a big spray program over there. If you notice, the Matata Strait is getting rampant. They went through there and really, right through Bay of Plenty, did a really good job. So.
It's something that is, it is a woolly nightshade's progressive containment. We know it's widespread across our region, and some areas probably a lot more widely spread than some areas of our district. Given the nature of how the spread seeds, mature seeds, birds feed on, they spread it beyond its current it's established. So, as I said earlier on, it's working closely with our other council colleagues and making sure that we've got a plan that we can deal with both sides of the fence, address the issue on one side, but we need to be similarly on the other side as well.
Sort of a comms thing again, really.
Well, I think it's also, if I might saying so, it's also a financial cost on the adjacent landowner. They may not be in a situation where they can actually do the required control work. So as much as we'd want to do our roadside, we've got to make sure that adjacent landowners are all part of the solution as well.
Next we've got Councillor Foster, then Councillor Karata, then Councillor Gibson.
Thank you. Just on the Spartina management at Tarahiru, is it the whole river that's been completed and sprayed with Spartina? Yeah, the whole river, right? Because the first part that was done here, that was proven really successful, wasn't it? Yeah. So we're seeing the river deepen and all that Spartina flushed. So once that, what's the timeline going from the first test? How long do you think before it'll be that Spartina will be pretty much cleared out of that river system?
I think the control is already noticeable now. The die-off is already occurring.
Yeah.
And the wet be sprayed. Certainly, as alluded, there is some maintenance to be done, which our guys will pick up on. But overall, you can see the noticeable difference already. Yeah. The initial program, we're looking at close to 18 months, maybe 2 years. And this could be a similar timeline for what's been done currently.
I guess every time we have a bit of a weather event and the river's kind of flooded, it flushes it even more. So, great news, good, successful program, great to see. Congratulations.
Sorry. It's also the opportunity for council to look at the new technology. The initial program was hand sprayed. Yeah. This new technology is drone spraying, so that's the benefits of looking at the new technology and how it can work for council.
Yeah. Many residents just applauding the whole activity and saying how successful it's been and the river's looking like it started to use to. Fantastic.
Councillor Proti.
I just wanted to pick up on what Councillor Tuffer was saying about the woolly nightshade, is that on multiple occasions we've had whānau from Te Rua Waiapu come here and say that specifically the woolly nightshade along Rangitukia is making people sick. I feel like they've been saying that for the last 3 years, and I don't know, despite asking multiple times, I have not ever got a confirmation about whether or not we got that taken care of, whether it's coming, whether it's been done. So that's probably not sit with you guys, but I do want it noted that I've asked multiple times and at no point have I got any confirmation about whether or not that's done, and I would really not like them to come back again to ask me the same question for the third year in a row.
Councillor Gibson.
I'd also like to follow on from Councillor Tuffer's 3 questions. Is that okay?
Yes, go.
Okay. Firstly, Motu Catchment Group have reached out and they are doing a catchment-wide weed project, and their biggest question is whether we actually have the budget within council, within our roading, to be able to engage meaningfully in that project, or whether they need to source outside funds to be able to deliver that. Do you think in specific areas where neighbours are contributing and are delivering, do we actually have the budget to invest in that space meaningfully?
Through the chair, I think that's a question that we might be able to direct to Tim.
Yeah, and maybe, I'm just wondering, I might be speaking out of turn, but maybe we can come back to you on this topic, because I think it's quite a significant and I'd like the opportunity to speak.
Absolutely. Park that one, cool. My next question is, it's really exciting that we are investing in water trapping technologies like AT220s on page 58. I just want to know where they're going, and is it towards our bottom buffer and our southern buffer, or like where are they going and what are they being used for achieving? Because I love to see the impact of investing in these. They're not cheap.
Through the chair, you're right, they're not cheap, but they're exciting technology. Those AT220s that we're referring to in this report are for Wainaki. They're going into the Kiwi2 bush at Wainaki to help to, intensify our trapping program in there. And we're currently looking at a funding application to lotteries to get some more traps to increase the...
That context is just great as far as communication to our constituents as well. Third question, and then I'll be quiet, I apologise. The third one is the Natural Heritage Fund. I see that's up again. I'm really excited about it. I do have questions around it's 300% oversubscribed historically, is that correct?
Through the chair, I don't know the percentage, but yes, it's highly oversubscribed.
Oversubscribed, and we get great outcomes. My question is there potential for us to refine the scope of the Natural Heritage Fund for the things that are important to our region at the time. So at this time, we're in a recovery phase. It would be great to incentivise and encourage tools that stabilise landscapes and slow down water. You know, I would argue that predator control probably isn't top of the list right now. And then maybe in a phase later, a few years down the track, we might have other priorities. So is there an opportunity to refine the criteria for that fund, seeing as it's oversubscribed, seeing as we probably can be quite picky on what projects we choose based on the needs of our region and the impact that they're having.
Through the chair, it's something that we could look at. We do have some quite defined criteria, and I believe that came through council last year for approval. We updated that criteria last year, and it came to council for approval at that time. And I hear what you're saying around priority work. We also know that, you know, our biodiversity across the region is pretty depauperate, and we do have people using that fund to protect existing biodiversity, which we see as equally important. You know, de-fencing of PMAs and native vegetation on private land. It's helping to protect those seed sources and potentially enable natural regeneration to take place so that people aren't having to plant. Yeah, but willing to engage in looking at some options around that.
Okay, if there's no other questions, we'll move to our last subject for the day's, last but not least, solid waste. And Phil is coming up to help us with any questions on that subject. Thank you, Phil.
Morena. I'll just take the report as read, but a few highlights from our report here. So we've got a project manager doing a deep dive into developing our procurement for our curbside services contract. So he's doing a dive now into the current contracts, how it's looking and what we need to do for improvements moving forward, developing those at the moment. We're pushing through with our master plan development for Resource Recovery Centre and Regional Transfer Station. So it's a big piece of work that's happening now, and there's a paper coming to council in March just to look for some direction and a decision on the future of that piece of work. We've been pushing through our WMP review, so there was a lot of mahi done behind the scenes. We're preparing that to get it to a point. There was a huge amount of feedback that we received on the draft document, so that's being refined now in conjunction with our comms team. To make that look like it will be a different looking document from the feedback that we've had, so there's been a heap of work happening there, and that will be coming to councillors very soon to also go through to public consultation. We're doing a piece of work just around resource consents and consenting processes and looking at our legacy landfill sites and just how we're managing those. So there's trains of work that are happening through management plans and consents that we're just getting those all lined up. Those are probably my main takeaways. Is there any questions on what we've got in here?
Thanks for that, Phil. Has anyone got any questions on solid waste? Thanks, Larry.
Yeah, thank you. Just when it comes to the Resource Recovery Centre, we've just spent a lot of money on buying a property, so why are we still looking at other potential sites by Tonkin and Taylor?
That will all be out in the paper next week. It's just looking at the overall picture of what we say now, but it will come out. We're looking at greenfield sites, just the cost of building, retrofit greenfield, and just making sure that we have a really good baseline for that decision to be made.
Next week.
Next month.
12th
of March, council meeting.
Exciting.
Thank you.
Any more questions? No? Well, on that note, I'll call this meeting to a close. We know we'll better move this paper first. Could I have a note? Thank you, Mayor Stoltz. Thank you, Councillor Telfer. Seconded by Councillor Telfer. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? passed, and that's us. Thank you very much.